Now, before starting the presentation, I just extracted some quotations from the internet. It's a very rich source of quotations, so I'd like to go through these ones first. Just a few celebrities. The one on the left is really likes to fight, and his confidence is related to his boxing and fighting career. So if you're surrounded by your competition and you are outworking these people, outmaneuvering these people, it's hard not to let your confidence take over. It just builds and builds and builds. Very much in line with what a sportsman would say. And we have Katy Perry on the right. If you are presenting yourself with confidence, you can pull off pretty much anything. Now, during the presentation, we will debate a little bit these statements. We'll see, we'll continue the slides. We will see actually if some of these are in line with what we're going to talk about tonight. Another one, when you start seeing your worth, you'll find it harder to stay around people who don't. A little bit lacking compassion, if you ask me, but let's move on. Bruce Willis, who got in trouble with his confidence, so saying that I always had confidence before I was famous, that confidence got me in trouble. After I got famous, it got me in more trouble. And this is why we're going to talk about confidence, to see if confidence can be a source of trouble and what kind of trouble. And another one. We're getting a little bit closer to some meanings of the lecture tonight. It is confidence in your bodies, minds, and spirits that allows us to keep looking for new adventures. A very nice quotation, I have to admit, from Oprah Winfrey. And another one, another two. Confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. Quite a daring attitude, coming closer to what we think confidence is. And if I'll be able to see the screen, I'll be able also to read. Believe in yourself, have faith in your abilities. Without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. And we have two more quotations. One very close to, again, to the message of tonight's lecture. With realization of one's own potential and self-confidence in one's ability, one can build a better world. Obviously, starting with oneself. From Dalai Lama, and let's take the last one, which is a very interesting one, and you may ask me a little bit later. Nobody can hurt me without my permission, from Mahatma Gandhi. So these are some quotations which gave me some food for thought and also allowed me to expand my lecture for tonight. And I will start, I really like to read dictionary definitions, so I'll start with a very simple definition, two definitions from the dictionaries, one related to confidence. One is from the Webster Dictionary, a feeling of or consciousness of, so I start again, a feeling or consciousness of one's power or of reliance on one's circumstances. And the second definition of confidence, faith or belief that one will act in a right, proper, or effective way. Also, Cambridge Dictionary says that confidence is the quality of being certain of your abilities or having trust in people, plans, or the future. So you see here, definitely having confidence is something positive. And we'll debate if positive it's enough for one's own development in terms of being able to hold on to that confidence, or how the confidence is, let's say, a given fact. And self-confidence, again, through the same two dictionaries. Webster Dictionary says self-confidence is confidence in oneself and in one's powers and abilities. And the Cambridge Dictionary says that self-confidence is the belief that you can do things well and that other people respect you. Now, life taught us that it's quite difficult to rely only on these things, especially when we talk about external factors or even the opinion of other people when it comes to having a continuity in a certain type of self-respect, happiness, and as we debate tonight, self-confidence. So what we're going to do in the first part of the lecture is to define confidence in the way we see it in normal conditions, then to see what will be some problems, what will be some hindrances when it comes to confidence, and why sometimes it's dangerous to base confidence on some of these factors. We'll see what happens when we lose confidence, and we'll see how confidence is useful for spiritual development, for the human development. So let's see first what confidence is based on, and we'll go through some factors, and you'll see some of them that are quite obvious, and I'm sure all of you will be able to relate to them. The first one will be, the first category will be activities and success. So we know that there is no success, no confidence if we don't put energy in it, if we don't make some efforts, if we don't invest some energy for a particular project. And we've been taught in our society, in our education, which is correct, that there is no gain without pain, which means if you want bigger muscles, if you want to look better, then you need to go to the gym and to pull some weights and to build more muscle mass. And in this way to be able to build some self-image confidence. In our example, if you want to have a career, to be confident in your life as a successful person, you need to go through some education, to learn some things and to prove yourself in the workplace, and so on and so on. So basically, we gain a lot of confidence through the activities that we do, and not just activities, because it's not just doing things, but very much for confidence is important to have results. So basically, most of the activities that we do are result oriented. Even when we think of fun, we still have a goal in mind to have fun. So we consider a night out successful in the moment when we have a certain amount of fun, pleasure, connection with people, and so on. Another type of activities, or another category of things that make us confident, would be related to a visible outcome of our actions. So the more visible are these results, then there will be more confidence built around. Thank you. There will be more confidence built. So basically, we have a certain feedback loop. We have a certain feedback loop in the moment when our actions and the efforts that we put in our actions will pay off, which means people will see us, the boss will notice our projects, and so on. So basically, the more we have results and the more visible are these results, the more confident we become. Very easy to understand things related to career or being praised in the workplace. And obviously, this is a positive feedback, because the more confidence we have, then there is more motivation for us to start new actions, which will result in more results. Very soon, we'll speak about what if those actions or those efforts don't pay off, and we get a bit disappointed, or even we consider that we failed in our projects. But let's continue on the positive trail. A very important factor is the external approval. Yeah, so definitely encouragements from our friends, encouragements from our colleagues, encouragements from family, everything that we have around us, all the groups and let's say environments that they have us, and they prove us right, and they somehow give a positive feedback to our actions, will create more confidence. One category here, not by chance I put it there, is not only related to people, but also related to things that we consider to be right. Very much is related to social norms and the way in which we see things as being correct, things being efficient, things being approved, us being approved by the whole society by starting a relationship, moving together, making kids, and buying the mortgage. That's one version, or just being the party animal until the age of 35, until we settle down, or traveling the world, or whatever schemes we have, whatever categories and environments we operate in and suggest a certain normality of our life, then it's very easy for us to feel confident by doing what others do. And definitely because we are such complex human beings, and because we grow also in maturity and in our tastes in life, definitely will belong to a certain category, and we will conform to a particular group or to a particular trend during our life. And in this way, confidence will be related to that particular type of living. Just to give you an example, if you are confident that you deserve to travel and to have fun for most of your teens, or maybe you work hard for a few years, save some money, and then you have the right to travel around the world between the age of 25 and 28 to settle down, then no one will take that confidence, even if they tell you that by this age you should have kids. The grandma and the granddad already had whatever careers and kids, and you'll be very little shaken from your confidence, because you do believe that your life and the way you behave and your conduct is very much related to what you consider norm for your choices and for your age. And the next one is a very interesting one. And those who know a little bit about chakras, you'll be even able to map it just roughly, starting from the base chakra to the higher preoccupations. I'm touching this because I know we have some yoga-oriented audience. So many times confidence is very much related to who we think we are. So our identification with a part of us or with a part of our life will define greatly the type of confidence that we have. Just to give you a few examples, we could also read them in the slide, but just to make it more practical. Someone is very confident with the body, or wants to be confident in their bodies. Very much for such a person, confidence can be built related to physical looks, which means maybe things related to putting makeup on, or buying certain type of dresses or certain type of suits and shoes. In terms of body image, we should go to the gym and look in a certain way as, again, what we consider to look nice and to look appealing and to look to make us feel confident is related to health, a certain affiliation to nutrition, a certain affiliation to lifestyle. And even here, I include it here because I hear this statement quite often. I'm confident that smoking doesn't harm me because my granddad lived to the age of 90, he smoked 2 packs of cigarettes and no harm came to him. So a certain confidence in the endless capacity of the body to, let's say, get rid of toxins, in the example with smoking, somehow forgetting some other factors like society context. For example, the fact that we live in a very polluted city, the fact that maybe we don't have access to very healthy nutrition, for example, organic food, like used to happen maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, living in the countryside and having access to a certain type of food, and so on. So this kind of confidence, just to give you an example how confidence can be just partial and based on very partial truths related to ourselves, in the moment when we get stuck to identifying with a part of ourselves and ignore many, many other factors. For example, stress factor, which comes no close to the body, or we think it doesn't, and we completely disregard how stress actually affects the body. So you can pay a lot of attention to build a lot of confidence in the physical appearance, but we disregard many other factors which can harm us in many ways. Again, quite a lot of confidence we put in our belongings and possessions. Yeah, the fact that we achieve some things with our career and with our money, the fact that we amassed some clothes, maybe some gadgets, maybe a nice car, maybe a nice flat. The fact that we have things can give us a great sense of confidence, and sometimes life hits back, and either we lose something or the car is destroyed in an accident, touch wood. I wish that to no one. I've been through 4 accidents. And so on. So basically, there is a lot of, let's say, confidence investment in things that are material when it comes to belongings and possessions. We'll debate just in a minute how efficient, not efficient is to invest this energy in that direction. Then in another category, we put a lot of confidence in the things that we think that are trendy, we like them, we approve them, we, I don't know, follow some people, some influencers from YouTube and fashionistas and so on, we reject. So we're very confident in rejecting other things which are not aligning to our fashion or trends likes. And that gives us a sense of confidence because that also builds a certain persona, builds a certain personality, which we're very confident with. And we can go like this for sometimes even a lifetime without thinking that we can be a little bit more than just that. Let's say person who belongs to a certain trend or a certain fashion, and even to have a voice of ourselves. Those who know is very much related to the energies on the second chakra, Svadhisthana chakra. And another category of, I would say, still somehow belonging somehow to an external context, the life experiences and lessons, the attachment to the things that we think we learned and we believe so much that are truth. Here very much we, probably all of us faced, starting from the age of being very anarchic teenagers all the way up to now, those endless conversations of the mom or dad or the grandpa or the granddad telling us that we should be or should not be in a certain way, us being very confident that what we are is good, and they being very confident their way of living proved over time that is the norm, this is the norm, and this is the things we should do. And I'm sure that all of us had to fight back, and we had to keep on our pride and our conviction that what we think is right. Now, some of those things will prove to be right on our side, some of the things prove to be right on their side, and definitely we grew up somehow tailoring our own belief system in those things that accumulated as knowledge and as life experience a long time. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Definitely is a good thing because it gives us a sense of identity, and without that would be just some spineless slugs. No offense to slugs. So definitely it's good to build confidence on those things that we experienced in life and give us a certain direction, a certain sense of me going in that direction. Now, another category of things that provide us confidence are the relationships that we build in our lives. Those relationships that build on affection, deep emotions and trust. They can relate anything from family to work environment, to friends, to partners, people we spend a lot of time with, and we put a lot of energy to build a healthy relationship. So we very much build confidence in relationships, well, the outcome of relationships. Now, all of us, repeatedly, we've been in cycles of cloud nine, being in love, or amazing friendships and disappointments, or how shall I say, being illusioned or disillusioned by some of these relationships as you grew up. Maybe some old relationships proved to be just superficial. We build new relationship, proved to be rock solid after maybe 2-3 years or 5-10 years. Also, we felt a sense of betrayal, and many times we have the tendency to suffer a lot. We think that there is no choice. When our confidence is dented or sometimes even destroyed due to the fact that relationships don't work anymore, or we break up, or something terrible happens, conflict, or even sometimes loss. And definitely is one of those areas of life where we feel a lot of ups and downs. And each time when we start a new relationship, we have a complete blind faith that things will go like this forever. There's no way it will fail, but also we have the opposite when life serves us quite a cold dish and we need to gather ourselves back and to continue to smile and be optimistic and to have faith in humanity. So I'm sure that I appeal to everyone's experience in this respect, and all of us, we had both amazing experiences, building amazing confidence in a certain environment or certain group or family, and also amazing disappointments. I can't call them amazing, but quite, let's say, making a mark in our memory. Even years later, we can relate to them, and even feeling a sense of betrayal. And then another type of confidence, and again, people who already asked the big questions and started to walk a spiritual path or a self-development path, or simply reaching an age of maturity, started to look for more than just exterior motivations for confidence or for satisfaction, happiness, and fulfillment. We can speak about spiritual experiences and the results in whatever practices we had, or even maybe not necessarily a practice coming from a very particular path, but simply from the knowledge that we can extract from life experiences, and a certain idea that it's not just enough to, I don't know, go to church once a week and forget about any form of human contact, or just pursuing career, or just having a superficial interaction with people, but somehow the heart call of being more human and somehow progressing in our lives. All of us, we somehow build our confidence, and I'll ask my assistant here to go again through, very briefly, through all 4 of them, starting from the activities and the success. So we just spoke about activities, and very much we do a lot of things, and we depend on a lot of success and the results to pump up confidence. And then we have very visible outcome from our actions and the positive feedback loop for our motivation, the need of approval, a lot of things being approved from outside, some in an obvious way. You could change the slide. And some others maybe less obvious. And then in the end, I just spoke about us being identified with some aspects of ourselves or our life, starting with the body, the most obvious ones, or with our belongings, very much related to the physical or the material things that we are and we are surrounded with. The emotions and likes and dislikes that very much are part of our life, and is part of our development as well, and a big part of our choices in life. And knowledge related to life, and a lot of positive feedback from life, relationships, and experience and spiritual experiences, and results in a certain spiritual practice. All of these, I consider them to be somehow belonging to the external part of our confidence building field. All nice and rosy, and I don't want to disregard. I put some question marks, some anchors in my presentation here, and we'll debate a little bit later why maybe it's not good just to stay with those things. Now let's look on the other side. This was the positive side of confidence. What happens when we lose confidence? I don't need to tell you, we've all been there. So failures at work, failures in relationships, breakups, sometimes not getting the nice feedback and the praises that we're expecting, being disheartened, being betrayed, also feeling incapable of even starting a project, being very weak and so on. So also we've been on that side, and we can say that there is a good time when we're quite active and we trust more our capacities and we do things to boost confidence. We invest confidence in a certain aspect, and some other times that effort doesn't pay off, or simply we cannot even move from the place we are. Maybe we are right at the bottom in the pit of the lack of confidence, and it's very difficult to move out. What I came up with is the fact that we invest a certain effort, a certain trust, a certain activity and let's say energy in building up confidence. And we could even say that we put this confidence in the confidence stock market. And according to these aspects and these, let's say, external contexts, the fact that some feedback that we get, sometimes we fail. So we lose the stock market, we lose all that energy seems to go to drain. And then definitely we need to start again, we need to pick our pieces, and we need to move again to a place of confidence. The question is it worth making the effort? It's more like a rhetorical question, because the answer probably in everyone's mind is a big yes. So definitely a functioning human being needs confidence in all those areas that we mentioned a bit earlier, we can relate to. So definitely effort is worth. The bigger question is, how can we invest this effort so that we less, let's say, at risk with our investment? Is there a fund where this investment can be made so that you could hold on to this investment? Rather being, like it happened in 2007 and probably happens nowadays with this lockdown, being at risk according to the stock market and to the shares that are sold and bought on the market, to put our energy in a place which gives us confidence in all these areas, but also is not liable to being attacked or to being taken away or to be broken down by ourselves or by the others. Now, before answering this question, we will have to go a little bit through a subject which is crucial in our presentation, and to speak a little bit about our personality. Somehow was implied in the presentation that we had a bit earlier, and we'll speak a little bit about the dangers of the ego. And if the ego is a good thing, if the ego is a bad thing, if personality and tremendous self-confidence is good enough, or simply we should run away from the ego and what the ego brings in our lives. So most of the time, the way we relate to ourselves is as human. That slide is a little bit not very clear. I'll just try to read it for you. Is human beings versus human doings. So we call ourselves human beings, but many times we catch ourselves as just acting, going for the job, running from one thing to another week passed, we just sigh with a big sigh of relief at the end of the week, we try to relax a bit, jumping back into the robo mode, just Monday to Friday, hardly having any time for our life, and then somehow weeks and months and years passing by without seeing much. So very much we relate to ourselves as I am with attributes. And I'll just give a simple example. Maybe I should have done that in the beginning. I am, my name, Bogdan, and easily I can identify myself with the function that I hold in this school. I am a yoga teacher and a Tantra teacher who is very proud of his achievements. Or not. Maybe I shouldn't. I am also a man, weighing this much. I have also some qualifications. I've been through some, education, university, high school, and so on, I easily can relate to myself with lots of things that I've done. I'm also successful doing an office job, and normally when we ask someone, how are you, or who are you, definitely we have I am based on many other attributes, which for us to work and to feel, let's say, good about our life, we need to have confidence in those statements. So, I'm a yoga teacher. Definitely, if I come in front of a camera, I should have at least some trace of confidence to be able to keep you busy for an hour. If I am a good accountant, I need to have confidence to go at work and to prove my self-worth of the money that I earn. So, which means I need to be good professional, and I need to have a lot of confidence in the knowledge that I acquired through my education and through my experience. So many times we forget to the other side of the human beings. How many times in this rush of life, and probably nowadays it's an interesting period, we stop ourselves and we ask, who am I in fact? Who is getting upset? Who gets stressed? Now I have less factors, maybe less external factors. Definitely the boss is not shouting at me, but at least in that first period when everyone was at home and we're still adjusting to the Zoom work, or we've just been put on pause. Life put pause on the entire planet. And then we had less external stressful factors. And then we had more time for ourselves. But let's take this context, which I consider for many of us was quite an interesting period of introspection. In the normal situation, how are you today? I'm good. I'm sad. That doesn't really matter. You know, I'm happy that I'm here. I'm happy that I have 2 legs and 2 arms and I woke up alive this morning. Just a simple sense of contentment, just breathing and existing in this life. One view. Or those moments of meditation and introspection where we simply get rid of all the agitation of the mind and we simply rest in that just being with yourself. Or even giving ourselves those moments of silence in which we can, I don't know, merge into listening to an amazing piece of music or simply giving ourselves that gift of relaxation. So you see, the human doings, which leads to create robots and a very robotic attitude and a very, let's say, self-conscious attitude in life, and the human beings are 2 aspects of ourselves, and human doing can be characterized very easily by a very big personality. Yeah, a personality based on all those things that we discussed earlier. And then let's now jump into this ego discussion. I'll keep it very short because I want to take you on the other side of the ego to see what is beyond the ego. A simple definition of the ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Definitely, again, speaking from this perspective, like confidence, the identification with the ego and the confidence of the ego is very much based on the self-importance, self-esteem, which again very much is related and conditioned by outside contexts. Now, we have to admit that beyond this personality and the things that we selfishly think that we need, there is a much bigger side of our life. There is something called love. When we can easily say sorry, when we can easily go over some reactions and connect to another human being, when we can easily give up the fear of engaging in a new friendship or a new love relationship, there is a place where the mind stops and we find ourselves in a very happy place without many thoughts, without worries and anxiety. So definitely there is much more to us than just our personality. I could say that during our childhood, teenage, and later on in life, we are very much educated and trained to be ego-centered. I am, and the more, let's say, qualifications, the more diplomas we could display on the world, the more achievements we had in our life, the better we feel about ourselves. And also, even this sense of achievements, if we stop for a moment, and interestingly enough, for this stop period that happened during the pandemic around the world, I heard from professionals that many people who suffered mentally quite a lot were high professionals who were engaged with a lot of work, with a lot of activities. That had projects lined up for another half a year, 1, 2, 3 years ahead. And I heard that quite a certain percentage, not everyone obviously, I don't want to generalize, but quite a lot of high professionals, you could include them in a category of very intelligent people and being in very good control of their lives, with their career, with the companies and so on. They had a lot of troubles emotionally, all of a sudden having all the calendars and all activities suspended for a period of time. Which shows something. What if we take away all the activities and the doings? What we are left with? How much happiness, contentment, genuine connection with people around we have in our lives? So on one side, we can say that the ego is important, and I won't take that away. And I even have in the one of the next slides debating a bit the functioning of the ego. So it's important to build this personality, but you can also say that there is something more than just the ego. So the ego will build a certain image about ourselves related to many things that we've done in the past, many projects that we have in the future, many expectations, and then sometimes we get a bit tricked. And then, not by chance, in the next slide you'll see that I consider that the ego is one of the biggest thieves in our lives, because the ego is also the one which stops us from having new experiences, to dare to jump into unknown, to dare to maybe lose a little bit the self-image and live life genuinely. The fact that we can give up just for a few moments on what we think we are and to experience a deeper part, a more spiritual part of ourselves. So we can say that sometimes what we call losing confidence is losing the ego confidence. So losing self-confidence or not having self-confidence can be easily, I don't know if my construction led you to the same conclusion up to now, but I promise you that we'll add on top of this ego talk. The fact that many times when we lose confidence in something which many times is related to either something in the past, something that we'd easily replace with a new knowledge or a new truth, something could be refreshed, a new experience, a new attitude of courage to dare to be something different, to experience something new and so on. So I wouldn't worry so much losing that type of confidence and losing that ego confidence when actually we can replace it with something much, much deeper and more important. Now, moving forward, in the title of the lecture, we have one simple. It's entitled From Confidence to Genuine Self-Confidence. So now I'll speak about self-confidence, but from a higher perspective. And in order to do this, we just need to define the self. Now, definitely if we go from a technical yoga description, will be a 3-hour lecture related to how many structures a human being has and so on. But just to make it very simple, beyond the body, beyond the emotions, beyond the mind, and beyond this agitation of what life makes us believe we are, we have something very dear to us. You can call it the soul. You could call it the essence. You could call it that divine inspiration that once in a while pops in our heart or pops in our consciousness. We can call it the oneness. Yeah, we have so many cliche sayings, I'm one with everything and so on, which are, by the way, true. It's just a matter of being that once in a while. So for example, someone who meditates and manages to transcend the mind for a period of even 5 minutes will have a sense of existence and existing even if the mind is not there. I can just share a very quick story here, just being in my first year of yoga and participating to a common meditation, a few hundred people in the same hall. I had a moment when the mind went completely. After half an hour, I came back, I opened my eyes, and there was no mind. And even to this day, even if that happened about 26 years ago, I remember that moment because it was a very precious moment of self-acknowledgement. The fact that all those amazing texts from different books and different teachings and lessons that I was going through proved to be right. No mind, the Buddhists say that, the Zen people, practitioners say that. Many people say when you go beyond the mind, you find a new reality. And for me, was a very encouraging, was empowering my confidence that the path was I was following, providing me with results to prove right those statements. So we can call the self, as poetic and as we want to call it, is that essence, is the I am without attributes, is that sense of being without having to put anything on top of it. So we can say that the genuine self-confidence is the one that comes from being confident in the self. Now, if I believe that I am the body, my confidence will come from my body, how it looks and how it behaves and how we put makeup and how we build muscles and so on, or how we dress it. That's subject to change, which means the confidence just in my body is not enough. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's not enough. If I'm only confident in my emotions, in my likes and dislikes, in my reactions to people, in the things that happen in my head and so on, that's still not enough, because it's still very much subject to fluctuations and to changes. If my confidence is just in what I learn, and just imagine that your learning stops at the age of 10, it's a ridiculous example, but just imagine that what you learned, you put a stop, and there is no room for new knowledge in your life. So basically your confidence is the confidence in a 10-year-old child. You have to admit the confidence of a 10-year-old child, or the confidence in the knowledge, or the, sorry, just to rephrase, the knowledge that a 10-year-old child has and the knowledge that an 80-year-old person has, they're two different things. Yeah, life adds more and more knowledge as we go and we experience. So basically, if confidence is stuck to just mind patterns, emotion patterns, reaction patterns, then we are a little bit in trouble, because sometimes we can control those reactions, sometimes we can't, sometimes we are very justified and we hold on our confidence, sometimes even to the extent that we hurt other people. We become very proud and we just step on other people's pride and other people's confidence and so on. So the more we expand the idea of the self, who truly I am, the more genuine the confidence becomes. Now, we can say that there is not such absolute self-confidence until we find that sense of the self. So we'll be very, let's say, proud of ourselves to think that I'm 100% self-confidence before we know what the self is. So definitely the self-confidence will improve as our sense of self is enriched through understanding, through spiritual growth, through spiritual understanding and so on. So basically, me starting with just a guy who goes to work and I am confident in everything I'm doing related to work, related to the fun, to the relationships that I have, and then I start to inquire a bit more. Maybe I start to expand my field of activities and self-inquiry, and then to say, okay, I'm not just a work. Work brings me just a certain sense of confidence, security, satisfaction. So I should look for more. And then obviously we find it in the richness of our relationships and interactions with people. And definitely the bigger questions we have, the more we expand the knowledge of ourselves. Interestingly enough, almost by magic, we start to attract in our lives books, people, we start to feel inspired by things that until then were invisible. And then the more we open ourselves or we dive deeper towards the self, to this essence, which is the truly I, then the more refined and the more genuine the self-confidence becomes. Now, before asking the big question, what about the ego? We just speak about confidence in the ego, and we speak about a higher type of confidence. Is the ego good? Is the ego bad? Is there a bad confidence? Is there a good confidence? We cannot judge in this way that confidence in my career is bad because it stops me from being spiritual. That would be a very false statement. Confidence in my career provides me with opportunity to be advanced in my position, earn more money, even more, have more resources, give me a certain sense of security, which maybe in time gives me the opportunity to expand my activities towards a spiritual field. So that confidence in few steps led me to a higher confidence, for example, in my newly found spiritual knowledge or a sense of self-knowledge. But definitely being just confident in the ego and just consider the ego is us, I am the ego, I am the personality, and to stop the sentence there will create some troubles in time. Now, definitely the ego is a very nice, amazing supercomputer. It's the one which allows us to interact with the world, is the interface of the senses. It brings up a lot of information. We have an amazing brain which can recognize shapes, it can bring information inside. It's also the one being able to memorize things and put in order to index all those experiences. Many times this part of the ego called the mind is pretty useless in sorting out those deep, traumatizing and hurtful emotions. And again, here is the need to find a deeper way, a higher way to deal with those if the mind can't. And again, this introspection, going to the source of those hurt feelings and understanding we are more than just those things, will lead to a better place. And basically building the confidence using the ego for what it is, for a nice computer which assists us in our life. Yeah, we have nowadays these self-guided cars, these autonomous driving cars. There are some tools. Now, considering that you become the car would be a very stupid statement. I am the car because the car drives itself and I'm going with the car. So definitely the ego is a shell, it's a vehicle, it's a, let's say, a part of ourselves which helps us to advance in life. And it has an amazing role, don't get me wrong. Also, the confidence that comes through the ego actions are important for a certain age in evolution. But beyond that, we have higher and higher types of confidence which are built beyond the ego reach and beyond the ego understanding. And now, the path towards this more genuine confidence will have to go through, or we can say that is a path built on the self-knowledge. And in order to build the self-knowledge, we need to ask the bigger questions. So definitely the path towards who am I goes through the very natural and simple question, who am I? Try to ask yourself that in the moment when you rage with being upset. To ask the question, who is upset? Or who is not confident right now? Definitely the ego is very hurt, no doubt. But is there more to me? You know, that guy who was very relaxed in the morning before went into a road rage and just displays all those not so amazing traits of his personality. Oh, I remember that I'm a kind person. Also, I remember that I'm a human being, not just an aggressive animal in the jungle, and so on. So big questions like, and I'm not just speaking about questions, but also a follow-up of practice towards answering these questions. Who am I? Or even as other question which comes up from this question, who is acting? And also a very important question, who is observing the actions? Many times we jump into actions, we see nothing else. And then we get hurt because the action doesn't go our way. Is there another person who is another part of us who is in action? Maybe. So it's a question, open question for everyone. And who is happy for results? Who feels great and confident in receiving the praises? And does that success bring me closer to my real self and brings more knowledge of myself? Yes or no? And by the opposite, in failure, who suffers when I feel failure? Is it worth to suffer? Is it worth to stay there in suffering or not? Now, anyone who had those moments to ask, and these moments normally happen in the moment when we speak with a friend, and they remind us that we are not just the failure, we are not just the success, We need to be attentive with the pride. We need to be attentive in our conduct towards other people. And I give you both sides of success and failure. Now, in the moment when we are reminded that we're just more than just a career-chasing person, or just a selfish person in a relationship, or just a taker in a friendship, then we start to ask these bigger questions, and in time, this will take us to this sense of self, which is, as I said, I wouldn't call it higher, but it's beyond the ego reach. It's much bigger than what the ego can process. And just to wrap it up a little bit, what will be the methodology to reach this higher confidence? Now, I won't give you particular methods, any kind of training of positive self-suggestion, of doing things, repeating success, and so on. There are many, many ways. Your first search in YouTube or on the internet will give you hundreds of methods for particular training methods. But let's see, how do we, as an attitude and as a new conduct, will allow us to get closer to this, what I could call it, more genuine self-confidence. Definitely we could start with step one. Any kind of confidence is good. So defining clear goals, making the effort, having the discipline there, let's say pursuing those goals and achieving results. Any kind of action, from the smallest to the most difficult action, will bring results in training confidence. Now, relating a bit earlier to the question, is it worth investing so much confidence in external things, is training in detachment will be a very important aspect here. So training to be detached both in success and failure would be a very good way to train this more genuine confidence. And here, humbleness, it's a good one. It's good to be successful. Also, it's good to know that you can do even better, and also to leave room for other people to achieve this success and so on. Another way to train confidence is to observe the ego reactions. And here, very much, we are very sensitive to feedback. Yeah, so, am I praised? I feel good, I have confidence. I'm not praised, my project is not appreciated the way I expected. Then I feel failure. And then definitely there is a moment, and many times we go over it with the speed of light. There is always a moment of choice. I can choose to go down on the failure path. I can choose to go up on the laurels of success. Both of them are choices, and most of the time they're unconscious choices. Is there a better choice than that? Yes. Be happy for a result, be confident, but also know that there is another aspect to confidence, not just because you're successful, you are a better professional, but also you feel better because you see yourself being there and participating full-heartedly in what you do, at work, relationships, and so on. And another big question, or another big attitude, is always being in the action fully conscious. It's a big, big talk in the Tantric teaching, in how we, and the yoga teaching, of awakening awareness, always being conscious of the outcome of our actions, the consequences of our reactions, and always being there, fully lucid, participating, but always having this, what you can call it, the witness, having like a supervisor, which interestingly enough, it's still you. Observing yourself in action, observing yourself either having the tendency to go one way or the other, and being in that space, pausing for one moment to consciously be there and to choose the crossroad, then we'll build a very good relationship with our confidence, because actually that's much closer to what we call the self. Then any kind of methodology in the shape of a spiritual path or a self-development path, or any type of expansion of the consciousness exercise, any type of introspection, meditation, inquiry upon the self, any kind of activities that will take us closer to that sense of the self, will also lead those efforts and will invest those efforts that we make into a genuine self-confidence, because whatever we do we're always confident that we don't disappear and we don't go away. Either we're successful or we fail or we're appreciated or not. And I thought to somehow illustrate this state, just for a few moments, for about 5 minutes, to do a very simple exercise, to do a short meditation in which I found it very recently. It's a meditation that I really liked many years ago when I came across it. A meditation upon a state which seems to be paradoxical, which is called detached involvement. So confidence, we need to get involved, we need to get results, so we want to make those efforts, but at the same time to stay detached even from the action itself, to be fully on, but at the same time being present, observing, like a referee in a game of football. So playing the football and being the referee at the same time. Maybe that's for men, for women, being on the catwalk and also being the audience. Yes? I don't know if that works. It works. Great. So I'll invite all of you to close your eyes, and will be a short meditation with music. We'll have 2 stages. In the first stage, we will build confidence towards, or relate to a state of confidence that we felt in our past. So could be a success at work, could be success in relationship, or simply you feel confident right now. Would be good to choose something that made you confident. Yeah, so we close the eyes. Before we start the music, I'll ask you to pick up your, let's say, context in which you felt confident, the reason for which you felt confident, and to relate to the state of confidence itself, and to get involved, to really feel the effort that you put there, the trust that you put there, everything that made that confidence happen. Yeah, so we get ourselves involved with that amazing state of confidence. And we start now playing the music. We try to amplify more and more this state of trust, involvement in our confidence. We will continue now with the second stage of the exercise. We will add a state of detachment, as if we are somehow above or one step behind ourselves, feeling confident. We could even look from behind ourselves. We see ourselves in action, in that state of being confident. And we will observe how we can be fully involved, leading to a state of confidence, but also at the same time being detached from the outcome of our action, finding ourselves in a place where we have enough room, enough space to choose how to react, either success or failure, and how being conscious and present, and the fact that the participation itself, it's a good reward for ourselves, the outcome is less important. So we are involved, at the same time detached, observing the whole scenery. For a few more moments, remain with the eyes closed and notice how confidence, related to that part of ourselves which observes, which enjoys regardless what outcome, is not affected. How this confidence is always invested in the right place. And how any success or challenge of life provides us with opportunity to learn. Do return now gently and open your eyes. So, I'm sure that there have been some questions along my presentation, so maybe we'll take the questions from the chat first and just go very briefly through them. So there is no questions, then you can ask me questions now, or if you want to share, or if you want to bring more clarifications to some aspects that I presented, that I'm happy to answer more. I'm confident also that the little technical blip had importance in our lives, and then that part of silence also was meaningful. Maybe you found your confidence space a bit easier in silence. Even if we record this session, will be just my image on there, so your voice will not bring the image on the screen. So feel confident to speak, or feel confident to write in the chat the questions. I'll be happy either or.
I wanted to ask you, if you can hear me, you mentioned about confidence and being in love. I haven't been listening too much, to be honest. Then, but can you develop a bit more about? Because obviously, being in love, it gives you a very, very high state of confidence. So it's also hard.
It's very debatable. Some people get very worried when they get in love.
Yeah. Yes, it's true like that. But yeah, I thought that the highest form of love normally should give you confidence, because it's unconditional. So
yes, if it is unconditional, that gives a tremendous confidence in the power of love. But many times we do act when falling in love based on attraction, and from attraction and a little bit of satisfaction we go to attachment, and many times to dependency. And that type of initial confidence transforms in a very high risk of confidence, because if it's taken away, then we suffer a lot. So again, it depends what we identify ourselves with. If I identify myself with the heart and with the genuine love, which says that my biggest happiness is to make this person happy regardless, then I'm in a safe place. I have 100% confidence. If I am in love, and my confidence is love is based on this person being in my vicinity for 90% of my time, satisfying this and this desire, and having a long list of, let's say, conditions, then I'm in a very risky position. And that kind of broken-hearted is just a work in progress, but not in the good progress of we create the conditions for suffering and for losing the confidence. So it's a very tricky one, and again, it's very much related to how much the ego is involved and how much the heart is involved in a love relationship. So yes, genuine love gives you 100% confidence. You are in the safest place ever when you genuinely love. I totally agree.
okay, thank you.
I would like to ask how to find a balance in between the search for spiritual growth and the fulfillment of practical needs, as it is my understanding that they both relate to the concept of confidence you talked about. Exactly. So from the perspective I gave you, confidence based on the ego actions, it's a risky one, and confidence based in the self, it's much safer. Now, we have to be truthful to ourselves and to see where we are right now. Thinking that we'll only act based on the self-confidence, not knowing what the self is a bit of a dream. So definitely have to go through stages of confidence, and sometimes having the success and failure. So from this perspective, we have to go through the ego. That's why a bit earlier in one of the slides I said that the ego is a very important tool, and we should use it. We should build whatever confidence we have now, even starting from the self-esteem and self-image, and building it up on more profound personality traits and the higher type of knowledge that we have when they accumulate, and leading deeper and deeper to an understanding of the self. So I would say that in the moment when I understand the importance of spiritual growth, there will be a place for the basic needs or the personal needs. So the fact that I'm confident that I'm a human being on the path of becoming a spiritual being doesn't take away the confidence that I can be a very good worker. It doesn't take the confidence that I can impress my friends, or that I can go for a party and have very good fun. So they have a place in our life. The problem is when we invest all our capital into something which only belongs to either the ego or something external. Because when that is taken away, we'll go through huge fluctuations, ups and downs of this confidence. Now, the more we awaken this spiritual part of ourselves and the capacity to stay lucid in the middle of amazing pleasure and confidence, and even suffering and what seems to be failure and lack of confidence, the less will be this fluctuations of what we call self-confidence. So there is a balance, and this balance will become more and more clear in the moment when we get closer to the self. Until then, it's still trial and error, and we still need to do our needed effort to evolve as human beings and further as spiritual beings. I hope it answers the question. If you want, I can give you examples, but let's see if that's enough.
Hi, Bogdan. Thank you very much for an amazing talk. I wanted to ask, when you are like in more like social setting, say with some friends or even with people that know you very little, how could you present yourself in a way that shows the type of self-confidence which we went through in the lecture, so the real one, without attaching kind of the professional qualities that you might have? So not like the more ego related part, or essentially if you're trying to answer the famous question, what do you do, in a different way that is not just I do and then my job title, how can you do that in a way that it still kind of transmits your confidence, like the non-ego attached one, but yet not kind of falling into that trap, if I may call it so?
Yes, I understand the question. The answer is very simple. If we relate to those few layers of ourselves that we mentioned a bit earlier, the fact that we are the body, we are emotions and mind, we are our reactions, we are our choices, we are maybe a contemplative side of us, we are a meditative side of us, we are a spiritual part of ourselves, we are the soul, and so on. Now, the more you bring to the table, the more natural that confidence comes through, and actually is the most effective. I'll just give you a very simple example. Quite a few years ago, I went to a job. It was quite a physical work, was on a building site. And the boss said, I need you for this, this, and this. And I said, no problem, but I have some conditions. Me just popping into that job. So I started with conditions. And I was very honest, saying, you know, I'm happy to do this, and I'll do everything that you ask me to do. 3 days a week, I need to leave the building site at 5 o'clock in the afternoon because I have to teach at 6 o'clock on the other side of the city. Now, I never tried to impress that guy. I just been myself, and I tried my best in those maybe a bit less hours than my colleagues to feel everything that I had to do. But at the same time, I was very honest with him from the very beginning. I didn't try to impress him. I didn't try to buy his trust. I didn't try to make extra efforts. I simply told, listen, if you want me here, this is me, and my needs are this, this, and this, and what I'm doing is important for me. Can we work like this? He said yes. We never had troubles. I had colleagues who said, oh, I want to go a couple of days next week to visit my family. I don't know what kind of lies to tell my boss. And I would say, why don't you tell him the truth? You have these needs. Be confident and be yourself, and you don't need to impress or you need to sneak around and so on. Now, probably notice that you or whoever you find confident, you consider confident, the more natural they act, the more somehow confident they feel with themselves, the more they exhibit confidence, somehow naturally, without trying to do something or trying to be something. You don't need to walk in a crowd and pretend you are the most successful lawyer or the most amazing accountant, or you need to impress a new CEO. You just need to be there and to be natural. Now just try to imagine I came here and I try to impress, let's say I knew your qualifications and your degrees and your PhDs and your amazing training and amazing, I don't know, traits that you have as human beings. And I try to raise up to somehow pretend I'm a little bit smarter or a bit wiser, whatever. That would be a failure because some of you could easily pick on that. So my only chance to come here is to be quite well prepared for the talk, and to be myself. That's the only confidence I can put out today, and it's the only one that will make me feel good in the moment when I put down the papers and we turn off the camera. It's as simple as that. Now, definitely to get there and to be natural in your shoes, definitely also means to be closer to your heart, to awaken your soul, to be confident with you, the good things, the bad things, being confident also that you are on a path of development, also acknowledging the things that you can improve and the amazing things that you already awakened.
Okay, thank you.
Be natural.
I missed that. What did you say? Sorry.
I said, just be natural, be yourself, whatever self you can be, but the deepest self and the more genuine self.
I have another question, and is regarding to fears. So when you have fears, you're probably most likely to be in the ego, and that's why you have fear, so it's hard to be confident. But what about the fears which could be like an intuition, like a message, fear to do something, to take a step towards a certain thing, and you shouldn't ignore it because it might actually be telling you something that is not good to take that path. So how could you go about that to define the difference between one and another?
I would say that any kind of decision or action or reaction that we have should come from a conscious place. For example, if I keep reacting to a suggestion to, I don't know, start a new course or to pursue a certain career, and I see this is an unconscious fear, I should stop, ask myself where it comes from, aim to heal, correct what is not there, build some confidence in that area, and then take the wise choice. Now, the second type of lack of confidence or fear that you mentioned related to some intuitions and the inability to follow those intuitions is related to a very big ego reaction. The ego being that structure of ourselves which is, its existence is based on previous knowledge, previous success, previous failures, sufferings, happiness, relationships, career, and everything is like a big amalgamation of who we are, but who we are in the past, what made us up to this point. For the ego to exist, it's a big topic here, and we approached it in some of the courses a few months ago. For the ego to exist, the ego tries to keep you in the loop, tries to keep you into the known, tries to keep you into the routine. Now, obviously, if the intuition says jump and the ego says stay, the fear would be of the ego to let go. Some people say, it's difficult for me to meditate. Why? Because the ego, in its shape of the noise factory in the mind, sometimes, will be afraid to death to stop even for a few seconds. So in the moment when your mind is quiet for 5 seconds, it feels the need to fill up that gap with a lot of noise. Hence, the inability to meditate. So, for example, the scatteredness of the mind could be the fear of the ego to let go and to let you, the higher you, to be with yourself in silence. Or to simply start to do something good for yourself. Even sometimes healing, in the first stages of healing, it's a huge resistance, and sometimes it's even like it stirs up a lot of things inside, and many people give up because it seems it makes it worse. So where is the fear from? From getting better, from being more conscious? Is your ego attached to your victim attitude? Or you want to beat the ego attachment and to be a successful and amazing person? And again, this cannot be answered intellectually because it's still in the side of the ego. You need to sit, contemplate, to have the courage to look into that and to take the wise decision. And sometimes it's good to start with baby steps, even those steps so small, then will insinuate along the ego to the point where you can kick it out for a few moments, few minutes, give yourself the chance to be happy, confident, just for a few minutes a day. And then slowly the ego gets used to, okay, is the happiness time, is the silence time. Okay, I can stay here without worrying, knowing that my existence is not, let's say, at risk. At least until the last stage, the ego is our happy partner. all the way to perfection. Just in the last step, the ego will lose, because everything that can reach the transcendence and the true self, it's us, not the ego us.
And related to this, can you actually feel fear as a response in a consecration, or is just the ego playing the role there?
I would say fear doesn't have, it's a yes and no. So for those who know consecration, with the stages of consecration, we just need to be lucid to what comes there. If it's a reaction and we don't feel, let's say, what you can call a positive yes, then you don't do it, or you pay much more attention, I would say. Shall I cross the road to work? I don't feel the answer. Well, you still have to cross the road, because otherwise you'll be fired if you don't reach it. But when you cross the road, maybe you look 10 times more attentively than yesterday when you're just messaging on your phone. So that's another way to counterbalance fear and this unconscious anxiety with more lucidity, which comes actually from a much higher level than just the agitation of the mind. Being lucid and being present, which is an amazing quality of your soul.
Thank you, Bogdan.
Other questions? Or maybe you want to share some things. Maybe you found yourself where confidence really didn't depend on whatever was happening on the outside or at the level of the personality. I don't know who's that question from. From my team, thank you very much. That was not planned, you know, that's not to boost me.
I've got a question. Regarding meditation. I'm still searching for a practice that I would enjoy, sort of meditation practice. I was wondering if you could recommend anything, or I wonder what meditation you practice.
We already started the chapter in the course about meditation. There are many forms of meditation. I would say choose something that it's efficient for you. Just to give you a simple example. Mm-hmm. If someone tells you, go in darkness and empty your mind and you find yourself, and after 30 seconds you freak out, that type of meditation is not for you. If someone says, sit down here, I'll play you a nice track of music and I'll guide you through a nice, tranquil, peaceful place, and in 5 minutes you feel much better, for you, for now, that meditation is what you need. If, for example, you go for a walk and you stand in the middle of the park and you just contemplate nature and that fulfills your soul, that type of meditation is good for you. Uh-huh. Yes, so depending on how you relate to different methods of meditation, you'll find that type of meditation that it's applicable to you. Now, one of the reasons that we do music meditation, because we can relate emotionally to a type of music, even to the message that that music has. We can even call carrying a certain frequency, a certain emotional resonance in it. Then it's a bit easier for our mind to adjust to a certain theme. For example, I just finished work, and on my commute to home, I want to meditate upon calmness and relaxation. Now, maybe it's difficult to snap out of the mind, constant activity. Then, just relaxing a bit, relaxation of the body, calming down the mind, breathing deeply a few times, putting a nice track of gentle music, will allow you to go in a deeper state of relaxation, calmness, and being inside. Yeah, so there are many, many methods. If I tell you meditate with the supreme transcendence, you knowing nothing about transcendence, you'll just daydream for about half an hour, knowing nothing about what you're doing. And that's very inefficient. So I would say for whatever you know your level is, choose a particular form of meditation that will bring you efficiency in your practice. as I said, for those in the course, we now just studying this new meditation with mantra, and you'll see it's an extremely incredible, efficient way to meditate, but we didn't finish the teaching yet, so we need to be a little bit more patient. What does your exercise and meditation routine look like, Bogdan? If you wouldn't mind sharing. I agree about the radiance. Shall I feel confident about praises? Meditation, I practice nowadays meditation with mantras called Laya Yoga meditation. I try to have a minimum of half an hour a day. In some moments, according to different activities and different groups and different needs, it can extend a bit more. And then I practice with the groups in the classes, so I do a little bit more meditation when I teach, and I do enjoy some music with meditation as well. I do have with some friends or with some groups some themed meditation, 10-15 minutes with a certain theme for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to awaken a certain quality. So I have a various way of, or varied set of meditation techniques. And I feel very confident with your praises. And then after we finish, I need to be super detached, not to take it the wrong way, the ego way.
Hi, Bogdan. Quick question. In the exercise you suggested earlier, we had to connect with a past experience of confidence. So in everyday life, how important it is to remember past moment of confidence. I mean, shall we think about how confident we were, or shall we look about a new type of confidence, or does it even matter? I don't know.
It's a very, very good question, actually. Depends very much, I would say. For example, being confident in the things I know and being routined in this confidence will kill my opportunity to learn new things. So in this respect, I would say if you're confident already, dare to do new things and to build confidence in new areas of life, new areas of activity, achievements, personal development, interactions, relationships. That's one category. So if the confidence is there, look for the present confidence and invest it in new things. That allows development. If you're lacking confidence right now, you are in the bottom of the pit, and it is very difficult to get yourself out, and the mind doesn't help you. There is something called invoking or evocation, which means, okay, I cannot see myself doing anything useful right now, but I can see myself last week or 2 years ago in the previous relationship when I was confident in my masculinity, in my work success, in my social interactions, in everything that I was doing. I was very confident. I go there, I make an effort to see myself in that moment and in that state. Now, what happens if good confidence is here, or confidence is here, lack of confidence is here? The more I start to focus there, to bring it back, like there is nothing else right now for these 3 minutes, but that amazing confidence that I had, then what happens through repetition, I just add every day more and more tiny grains of confidence, or if even that is difficult, even choosing very simple actions that provide you with confidence in results, starting to do things, simple things. Today, I'm going to meditate 5 minutes. Tiny bit of confidence. Today I was successful in meditating 5 minutes. Another tiny bit of confidence. Today I finally came out of my house and I met my friends. Another tiny bit of confidence. Now, the more we increase the confidence, the more we get ourselves out of the hole. So the more confidence, the less lack of confidence. So whatever methods you feel that are applicable, it's very important to use. Many times this confidence is reawakened by your friends. How are you today? I'm so broken-hearted. I am completely useless. I've done it again. I'm just the worst person on the planet. And then you meet your friend and they say, hey, come on. They'll take it by the ear. They'll shake your head off and they'll take you to a comedy movie. And by the end of it, say, come on, listen. Yes, you may have failed. You messed it up here and here. But remember, you're much more than this. And simply by someone helping you to remember those moments of confidence, again, is a boost to what we call the resonance of confidence. It might last you only another 20 minutes after your friend leaves, It's a good exercise. And tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, you again amass again that traces or broken pieces of confidence and put them together to the extent where they better or more powerful than the lack of confidence or self-distrust.
Thank you very much. Very, very insightful.
It's easy. It's super easy.
Bogdan, do you have time for one more question?
Of course, yes.
Actually, I have two comments first. Firstly, I really liked your analogy of investing in your confidence or the stock market. And I think you could almost take that one step further in that if you're investing in stocks, then you typically aren't a board member, so you don't have control of what the company does. And so therefore, that's why your risk is even higher if you're investing in these external things. Whereas if you're investing in yourself, you might have some more control of it. The other comment was, this was a very nice synchronicity. I had long talks this weekend about self-confidence, so it was quite amazing to see this pop up in my inbox today. I had a question related to that, which was, can you talk to the interrelation of self-confidence and self-consciousness? Something that I struggle with a little bit is being overly self-conscious.
Being self-conscious, in my understanding, my translation of it, doesn't mean self-consciousness. Being self-conscious means that you're overly sensitive to how you look, to how you act, how the other people perceive you.
Correct, yes.
That's the definition of the dictionary. Now, self-consciousness means that you are conscious of the self. And again, going back to...
I misspoke, yeah.
It means to be more aware of who you are rather than the image. I give you a very simple example. Just imagine I was not born, I don't know, natural talker, presenter. So all of a sudden I'm in front of 40 people online and I flawlessly present something. Well, I had to build that trust. I remember first time being in a crowd and then in an audience and actually not being involved with anything, just being so self-conscious that I was in front of the crowd, that anyone could watch me at any time. That was a horrible feeling. It was like, I could feel like I had to behave in a certain way, and you can imagine no one even looked at me, you know, not that I was whatever personality, I was no one. But even that feeling, or maybe some of you experienced, first time when you go to a nudist beach. That's being self-conscious. You think that everyone will look at you and judge you based on looks, on how you look, and so on. Well, self-consciousness means if I'm naked or if I'm with clothes on, I'm still the same person. That's self-consciousness, knowing that I'm more than just the body. Yeah, so I just put a little bit kind of slash between terminology, being self-conscious in the normal acceptance, and self-consciousness meaning I want to get closer to the self. I'm conscious of myself, as deep as I can go. Can I be hurt? Maybe I'll ask my assistants to put back that last slide from the quotes. Maybe you forgot it until now, but I really liked it, and this question brought it back. It's Mahatma Gandhi. It's kind of a red slide there. I'll just wait for it. It's a suspense moment. This is the last quotation from that. If you'd be so kind to put it up. Almost there. So what does it say? I can't see. No one can hurt me without my permission. And it's not a proud statement. What it says there, no one can hurt me being conscious of the highest self of myself without me giving them permission. And so I cannot go in suffering knowing that suffering is my own making, or whatever other emotions. And so I hope that also that adds to my answer to you.
That does very much. Thank you.
And another question on the chat. Thank you for previous answer. I'd also like to ask, how do you explain the alternative of temporary state of awakening, self-confidence, and the fail into the ego hovering? Well, I'll just give you a very simple example. You go to cloud 9, yes, you awaken the soul, or you have a state of transcendence. You have the self-confidence, what should be the self-confidence, because you awaken the self or the consciousness of the self. You stay there for 10 minutes, you hold on to godliness, and then you pull towards your normal level of consciousness, brings you back to the confidence that you have in who you are, and a little bit of confidence where you're going. So we have temporary state of awakening many times, many times. Even a genuine state of love is a temporary state of awakening towards one's soul. Awakening the soul is not a small feat, even if it's halfway in our spiritual development. Awakening the soul is a very spiritual achievement. Still, we forget that. We get attached, we get possessive, we get sour, we get pointing fingers, we get proud, we get demanding, we get many other things, but not that awakening of the soul. So that's a temporary state of confidence in the soul, and you think from now on, I'll be like this forever, and then remains just a little bit of intellectual understanding, and very difficult to apply it, especially in those needed moments, in the moment when you react, in the moment when you start to blame the others, in the moment when other people blame you, and so on and so on. I hope it answers. So a temporary state of awakening and self-confidence is just getting close to the self, understanding what that confidence means and what the self means, and then falling like a leaf. Sometimes can take just seconds, some other times it takes days, and then going back and having to make efforts to go back to that level of self-knowledge and self-confidence. This is the whole cycle of spiritual path. We get an insight, and then you need to work hard for it. To settle there. Having a temporary state doesn't mean you reach there. We just reach there, and we need to stabilize it. And stabilizing sometimes can take years and years of practice. Other questions?
Hi, Victor. Thank you very much for the webinar tonight. I had a quick question on if you come across blocks in your spiritual practice and feeling you're not as good, or other people are feeling more than you, or you're not sure. I know you mentioned earlier setting small targets, like just 5 minutes of meditation is better than none. Is there anything else you recommend for building your confidence on the path?
In my experience, the best way and the easiest steps in building confidence is to choose things that you like first. They still may belong to the likes and dislikes, may still belong to some results which are maybe just temporary or even assigned to the ego, whatever, but nevertheless they give you a boost. You start moving. There's a statement that I didn't have the time to debate it. In order to transcend the ego, you need to have an ego. You cannot jump from 100% unconsciousness to 100% spirituality. You need to define a path. The very moment when you think of yourself as an individual, you already start to develop the ego. But also the ego gives you the power, the discipline, the courage, let's say a certain boost to move out of the instincts and out of this kind of unconscious attitude. So it's good to start with something that you like and you see immediate results. If that is 5 minutes of meditation with music, which is the easiest form of meditation, do it for a week or two. You have a small boost of confidence. Then, and willpower as well. And then with more willpower and more confidence, you make another baby step, maybe 10 minutes of meditation. And then you add, maybe I'm watching myself for half of the day to make sure I stay in this tiny bit of confidence that I created. And it's very dear, my bubble of confidence. I hold on it dearly throughout my day. Someone tries to take it away, you say, you know what? Yes, I know I have some flaws, but I'm a good person. And I decided to work with myself. That counts. I have a bit of confidence here. I still need to work with a lot of other things, but with my tiny confidence in these few things that I know that are true, I'm moving forward. Now, I'll just give you just a big statement. Now, maybe you could add it to your practice. You and we are already perfect.
and there is no right and wrong when you look from the highest level. There is a right and wrong for the ego. There is a right and wrong for personality, likes and dislikes, emotions, and so on. Inside ourselves, that self that we defined a bit earlier, it's already perfect, and it acts perfectly. Now, what we have to do to be confident that everything that we do is just getting rid of all those weights and all those blockages that prevent us from knowing that permanently, continuously. You are already there, you just forgot a little bit. And now you need to remember, with small steps, in few seconds, few minutes, in few moments of the day, with few people, and slowly, slowly, the path of revealing the self is a path towards ourselves. You don't need to invent something or to prove something. What you need to do is just to be yourself. It's in the sentence, be yourself. Now, if you're yourself in the tiny bit of baby step, you're still yourself, a tiny bit of yourself, and another tiny bit, and another tiny bit. It adds every single day with success and boosting with tiny bits and more powerful chunks of self-awareness and confidence. It will make the evolution much faster in time.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I like that.
Your knowledge, you're already there. You just don't remember right now.
Thank you.
Great. I think we should somehow finish somewhere. Tara Yoga Center is a registered charity, for those who don't know. And if you want to make a small contribution, you can donate. Visit at tarayogacenter.co.uk/donate. So if you want to make a contribution, we like to provide all these things for free, but it's up to you. And thank you very much for my confidence boosting experience. Being with you, so wonderful people. And let's invest confidence in the right place from now on. Thank you very much for tonight, and have an amazing weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bogdan. Bye.